What I mean by this is this. When you're on a call with somebody, I don't want you to tell them what you do. Okay? I don't want you to mention anything about what you do. I want you to just talk to them and be like, "Hey man, what do you do? What are you into? What do you like to do? What are you trying to do? Why did you start this? Right? What are you trying to become? What's stopping you from getting there?" Right?
Mhm.
And at the very end, be like, "Hey man, like, like based on what you kind of said, like I help a few guys like overcome this obstacle to get them from here to here,
Mhm.
right? Um, I'd love to kind of share that with you. And then here's where you can use some. This probably won't work, so I won't even say it. But like, that's just what you do is be like, hey man, like I'll help you do that. And like, you don't have to say it's with like coaching and one-on-one calls, etc. Right? You just be like, hey man, you want to go from here to here? I'll help you do that. And therefore,
Mhm.
it's like it's not so much relying on the pitch; it's more reliant on what they want. It's like, what do they
Mhm.
want? What do they want? Well, they want to do this. Cool, I'll help you do that. Now, granted,
I see.
then you have to get to believe that you're gonna help them do that. But like, if you can listen to them enough, they'll eventually like think that you understand them. And so when you say I can help you with that, they'll believe you because you've been listening. That's why asking questions is so important. A lot of people don't realize this. Is I think the reason for asking questions, I mean, there's a plethora, but one of the main reasons for asking questions on a sales call outside of getting an understanding of their situation yourself so you can know if you can help them, it's so that they know and feel like you are the best option for them. It's the same way when you go to a doctor and say, hey doc, my head hurts, can I have some medication? He's not just going to go, "Doo, doo, 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 yep, sure, take this one." He's going to start asking you questions to try and diagnose. And what happens is after he asks you a question, of course he has a better understanding so he can properly give you the correct medication. But more so than that, you now feel like he understands you. Right? And that's the key part. Is it's not that he actually understands, that you feel that he understands. So now when he says, hey man, this is the thing for you, you believe him because he's been listening to you. And so here's the
Mhm.
thing: he could prescribe you some random medication, something that is out of this world. But if you know that he's been listening to you, and you believe and you're like, well, he listened to me, so he must understand my situation. You then will believe that will work, and as a result, you will then buy the medication. And so the point is that we don't just want to ask questions for the sake of asking questions of like, la di da di da, how's your day? What's your favorite hockey team? How's the weather? Where do you live? Those are pointless questions. We want to ask questions oriented around their goals, their problems, etc., to get a better feel of them so they know we understand them. Because argue some of your best relationships in life are people that you understand, right? The people that you get. You know when they're upset without even talking to them. Right? You can tell when something is going wrong or when something's going right, or you can start to read them. And those are the people we have a big connection with. And those are also simultaneously the people that we trust the most, and vice versa, that trust us the most, the people that we
Yep.
can understand. So the point is I want you to start helping on these calls and asking questions, but not for the sake of just asking, for the sake of understanding, for the sake of trying to get a better understanding of the person, of their goals, of their desires, of their fears, the same way you would on a first date. Is you want to start to understand the person. And what a lot of people do wrong on a first date is when someone says like, "Oh yeah, I want to be a lawyer," they're like, "Oh, amazing, that's great." Right? "I like camping." "Oh, amazing, that's fun. I love that you like camping." "Me too." And they instantly just jump to these like reactionary. That's cool, yeah, yeah, yeah. But what I want to do is go next level deep. And so you can call this probing, call whatever the fuck you want, but I want you to go deeper. Oh, that's cool. You want to become a lawyer? Why? Like, I guess what made you want to become a lawyer in the first place? And there's so many other professions. Why lawyer?
Mhm.
Well, from a young age, I love law. Oh, interesting. I've never met a little kid that sat there reading, law textbooks. I guess like what particularly got you into law at such a young age? Well, my dad was a lawyer. Oh, okay. Did you hang out with him a lot, or how
Yeah.
did that thing get brought up? Yeah, I hung with my dad every single day, and he introduced me to everything, and so I really got cool in the law thing. I go, gotcha. So you're kind of following in your dad's footsteps. Yeah. What's the goal with that? Well, I eventually want to take over his firm. And so now, it's like I'm starting to understand the person. And then the thing is, on the other side of that, especially on a date, if we're going, real life here, girls just want to feel understood, right? In this world, everybody's always talking and always sharing, but very few people feel understood. Very few, right? And oftentimes, that's why when you're talking to somebody, being able to look at them and see they're looking at you is such a sign of respect, and is such a calming thing, because they're listening to you, and so they're actually paying attention. And as a result, they're probably going to understand what you're saying, which makes you feel like they care about you, right? Which is another thing. Is somebody that just goes, yep, cool, good to know, and just like goes down the checklist of questions, that doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same as someone who's like, hold up, wait a minute, you sounded a little uncertain when I asked you that? Like, what caused the hesitation in that question? And that person, when you ask them a question like this, they go, wow, this guy's paying attention. This guy cares more about me than just asking me a bunch of questions. And that's how you differentiate yourself from everyone else asking questions, right? Is actually caring, actually going next level, actually going deep with them. And so that's what I want you to do, is that thing on your calls. And I promise you, bro, when you ask all these questions, you get such an understanding of the person, where they are, what their goals are, what their fears are, right? What's stopping them from getting to where they want to go and where they want to go. Then when you say, hey man, like I work with a couple of guys and like I've done this thing, like I'd love to help you go from here to here. Like I've this thing you're talking about, I've solved it a bunch of times. I'd love to chat more about that with you. They're like, dude,
I see.
you know how to get rid of this thing? Let's talk. Like I was watching a podcast the other day from this guy, and he talked about how he was at some running club out in like Australia. And after the running club, some guy came up to him and he started talking to him. He's like, hey man, what do you do? He's like, oh, I got a podcast. Oh, how's the podcast going? Amazing. He just started asking him more questions, like, what makes you unique? And so this guy started to try and prove to the other guy why he's so good. Well, this, and this. I'm like, dude, like you sound like you should have like 1 million followers. Like, why don't you? Right? Like you have the it factor. And then the guy's like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, you know what? And this is what the guy said as the pitch. Like, I think I know what the issue is. I work with a lot of guys in similar space doing podcasts, but the problem is not a lot of them have the it factor. And so, we can make them all the content we want, but without the it factor, nothing really happens. You already have the it factor. So all you need to do is just repurpose some shorts and you're good to go. And he never said me. For context, he never said work with me. He said all you need to do is repurpose shorts and you're good to go. Implying that's what he has, but he didn't say. The guy then said, dude, how do we do that? And then this guy replied with, I'm actually too full right now. I can't take you on, but I can give you some advice. We can hop on a call. I'll give you some advice. And this guy made a video talking about how he wanted to work with him and post it online. Crazy, right? So like that's just a really good understanding of like when you go to talk to somebody, just approach them with the intent of talking to them, getting to understand them. If you can truly understand them, you win them over. And it's genuinely game over. And we do that by asking questions, by going deep, and by genuinely caring about their answers, right? And so like sit there and just listen. Like just listen and be like, why did you sound so concerned when you said that? Or, John, what's your goal? And the reason, like, I'll share with you my
Yeah,
goal.
the
And then,
emotional
like,
trigger.
just go deep
Mhm.
with them. And, like, your goal should just be to connect with them on a level where you understand them and they feel understood. That's what most people want in this world. They just want to feel understood. They want to feel heard by somebody. The same way, I hope that you feel that I understand your issue and this advice is helping you. And if it is, it's because I understand your problem, because I've been in those situations before where I've hopped on calls, I don't know what the fuck to do, and at the end the person's like, yeah, well, thanks for the call and leave. And it's because I didn't know how to present myself to them or how to get them to the conclusion that they need me, right?
Mhm.
And so that's what I'm trying to relay back, and I hope that this is hitting with you, and I hope you're like, yes, 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 yes. And if that is the case, is it?
Is it? Yeah, it is.
Good. That's only because I understand you. Now, granted, of course, we talked a bit before and I asked you some questions, but I've also been in your situation and to understand it quite well. But
Mhm.
you would have never trusted me if I never built up a relationship with you, asked you questions, and had this relationship built and give you this advice from the get go. If I just started talking to you and said, "Yeah, man, do this, 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 and this," you'd be like, "Dude, where is that coming from? Where's the context? How do you know what I need?" Right? But since we've talked and we've built up a relationship and I've seen what you've been doing, I know what you're doing. So when I give you advice, it's actually applicable because I hear what you're doing. Right? It's very hard to pitch somebody who you've never talked to and know nothing about. Like, hey man, you should buy this. Why? Well, because I think you need it. Why? Because you haven't made them come to the conclusion that they should. And they don't believe, like, when you pitch somebody something without them thinking why, it's because you haven't made them realize that you know enough about their situation to give them a proper solution. Same with the doctor, right? We talked about it. You go to the doctor, say, hey doc, can you help? The doctor's like, yep, sounds good. Take this. You're like, what do you
Yeah.
mean take this? You don't even know what the problem is. Yeah, man, you said your head hurts. Take this. But how do you know that it's that thing? You'd be like, what? And that's the same way when you pitch somebody something without even hearing the situation, or at least in depth. So yeah.
Mhm.